me share my screen and start. And we go. So the webinar is financing for SMEs in Horizon Europe, tips and for application and such as stories in cosmetic, nutraceutical and pharmaceutical sector, focus on exploring in particular the EIC funding scheme and how to write a successful proposal thanks the contribution of such stories. Before starting, I'm going to provide you some technical notes to guarantee a good quality of connection and interaction during the event. Audio and video functionalities are turned off for all attendees except for the panelists to guarantee better webinar functioning. The webinar will be recorded and published within slides on the Lombardy Green Chemistry Cluster website. Please visit www.chimicaverdelombardia.it. Question can be submitted to all panelists and all attendees using the chat space for short messages or Q&A area for longer or specific one. I kindly ask to all panelists to monitor this space to provide feedback to all participants during the event. Finally, I invite you to use your device or your small smartphone to connect to Mentimeter, www.mentimeter.com to answer a 3-question survey that we will have later on in the event. So the question is not for now, but during the event. The webinar is promoted with the support of 2 European initiatives jointly participated by Consorzio Italbiotec and the Lombardy Green Chemistry Cluster, the Empower Bio project funded by Horizon 2020 thanks to the BBIJU funding scheme, and the Towards Green Transition Facility, a new initiative of the European Cluster Collaboration Platform, ECCP, to enable cluster to promote green transition skills among their members. The webinar is indeed the first initiative of an acceleration path for SMEs, startups, spin-off in the bioeconomy sector to attract public and private capitals through training, coaching, and the organization of a bioeconomy region investment forum, since we are planning to organize on September 14. The initiative is focused on 2 areas of interest: new ingredient and bioactive compounds, nutraceutical and cosmetic application, and advanced biomaterials for fine and bulk chemicals applications. Through this path, at least 10 companies will be supported in strengthening their business model. They will present themselves to a panel of venture capitals, equities, investors, and large companies to speed potential innovation up into the market, increase their international visibility, and trigger new business opportunities. So, are you interested in learning more, and would you like to take part? Participation is totally free of charge, and the registration is still open, so contact us to get involved in this initiative. Moving from the general scope of the event to the program of today, the webinar is plenty of opportunities for discussion aimed at discover the new EIC program, tips and tricks for a successful proposal by Alessia Rotolo of APRE, the Agency for the Promotion of the European Research. And then we will have strategy as recommendation for the development of bio-based business model by Manfred Kirchner of CADIB, advising bioeconomy and towards green transition facility expert. And finally, who to overcome the value of debt barrier, best practices of projects funded by SME Instrument-Phase Il. So I'm pleased to thank you, our guest, Gustavo Higuera of Solutex, manager of the Life Omega project, and Jose Maria Pinilla of Natac Biotech, manager of Aqualive project, who will bring their success stories funded thanks to the SME Instrument-Phase II. Finally, in a cluster-to-cluster section, we will devote a space for cluster in order to improve and sharing best practice each other's. And I'm pleased to present EBIS Consortium by Barbara Tosi, Manager of Green Chemistry and Advanced Material Clusters of the Piedmont region. So, moving from the major topics of today, the results of the first EIC Accelerator deadline opened the last April, gathered strong participation with over 2,000 startups and SMEs submitted short application and more than 800 a full proposal. So the first cutoff shows a strong demand of EIC funding with a total financial request of over 4 billion, which 3.2 billion for equity investment. So by thanking for your attention, I'm pleased to welcome Alessia Rotolo, Senior Project Manager at APRE, the Agency for the Promotion of European Research, hosting the Horizon Europe Italian National Contact Point, in order to learn more about how to apply successfully for this measure, how many novelties and suggestions and also recommendation for a very successful proposal. Thank you very much, Alessia, and welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Ilaria, and good afternoon to everybody. So I will try to share my screen. Okay. So yes, as Ilaria was just anticipated some minutes ago, we we just have the result of the first EIC accelerator, let's say, slot. As you know, the program has different changes from the past. Let's say it's created on the basis of the previous SME instrument, but it has many novelties. So what we usually say is that now the EIC accelerator is an evolution of the SME instrument. So the SME instrument is a good starting point, but we have to start to move forward. So first of all, where we are in the third pillar of Horizon Europe. We are in particular in the European Innovation Council work program. In this particular work program, you can find different instruments that are, let's say, the first real change among the past. Why? Because Europe started to, let's say, realize that we had a lot of problems with reference to the innovation performance. So we are very good at developing new ideas, but then the real problem is to transfer them to the market. And one of the main problems and we hope to overcome this, to find, or better, to describe really disrupting and breakthrough innovations. Another problem that this work program wants to overcome is the transition from laboratories to enterprise, to the market. And then one main point that you have to, let's say, keep in mind if you want to apply to, let's say, EIC accelerator. So what is the concept of scaling up? So first of all, you have to have a breakthrough innovation or disruptive innovation. So something that is going to create something really, let's say, radical, something that will create a new job opportunities, will enter in new market, or will disrupt already existent markets. And then you see the concept of scaling up. So we have to start to think in this way. We have to go, let's say, over our boundaries, our countries, with the innovation that we are developing, and we have to think in let's say at least in a European way. And at the same time, you will find in this work program the concept of ecosystem. So I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but this is what I was saying. This work program, this new EIC, let's say, is based on the previous EIC and then the EIC Pilot. And something started to change also already the last year. Why? Because they starting to think about the concept of unicorns, the concept of equity, the concept of blended finance, the concept of what now you will find as so-called challenges. And one of the most important things, we have more budget than before, and as you can see, it is completely dedicated to European Innovation Council, but we will see how. So, which are the opportunities that you can find in the European Innovation Council? First of all, you have to understand which is your TRL. Why? Because in correspondence of your TRL, you will be, first of all, interested to Pathfinder, to transition, or to accelerator, because Pathfinder finance early stage, let's say early stage research project with grants that goes between 3 or 4 million, and it is the successor of the previous FET. Then we have this new interesting program that is the transition, that covers what I was saying before, so the gap between the lab and the startup, the market, with the grants that can arrive up to 2.5 million. And then you have what is, I mean, the most interesting thing, I think, for a single startup, that is the accelerator. First of all, the main difference among these three is that the accelerator is a mono-beneficiary instrument, whereas the other two are based on consortium. So if you are an SME, or if you are a natural person, so a single person that wants to create, who wants to create an SME before the grant subscription with the commission, okay, so the accelerator is your program. And so the accelerator, okay, as you can see here, I decided to leave all the points. Why? Because each instrument has the main structure, so you can find open and challenge calls. If we focus, for example, on the accelerator, so first of all, you are an SME or you are a natural person that wants to create an SME. You have a radical, disruptive, a really innovative idea. Then you have two opportunities. First of all, decided to submit your proposal in the open, let's say, field. So it's a bottom-up call with no previous existing topics, or you have the opportunity to opt for the challenges. For this year, the challenges are digital, medical, or green. And it is of course a top-down approach. But how? Okay, so I don't want to repeat this, but so this is just for you in order to understand and to remember the different TRL and the different opportunities in the EIC. I just want to, sorry if I do like this, but I want to come here and then we come back. If you have this idea, you have to, you will find a different approach in order to submit your proposal. So you will go to, okay, the funding and tenders portal, you register yourself, you do the self-assessment, and then you will find this intelligent artificial platform. Everything is doing by this platform. So you will have these discovery modules, which is just the modules where you can find different opportunities apart from the EIC accelerator. Then you start, let's say, your application with this diagnostic module that is a sort of assessment made by this algorithm, which check your project quality and your chances, let's say, of success in the EIC accelerator, but it is not an evaluation. Then you will start your short application with some questions. It's a guided process, and then you will have to upload your pitch deck and your video. Pitch deck and video are an integral part of the application. So you will have, let's say, 10 slides in which you have to present your idea, your team, what is behind your innovation, and the video. The video is something that the evaluators, let's say, like a lot, because they will see, they will check your ambitions, the team that is behind the application, and how you will be able to sustain, let's say, the idea when the finance from the grant or the equity from the commission will end. If you pass this short application that is evaluated remotely, then you will have the full proposal. Also, the full proposal will be done through this module. It is based, let's say, on the same question of the short application, but it is, let's say, more stronger with more details. They ask a lot, and then you can upload another pitch if you want to change something, or if there is something that you would like to highlight in a pitch itself. So this is one of the main changes of the EIC accelerator. It's not the only one, but first of all, yes, I would like to say that the application has changed. It is a mono-beneficiary call. They want to see the concept of scalability, the concept of disruption. You have to think as you are in front of investors. I mean, they are not investors, but I put a slide on this. I will leave this just for you. The point is this. This is the kind, let's say, the type of the composition of the juries that in the end will interview you if you will pass the last point of the full proposal. They are experts that come from venture capitalist world, or from industry, or they are business angels. So for sure they are going to check these elements in your proposal. They're interested in numbers, in indicators, in let's say they want to see why it's so important for you to be financed from the commission, and why you didn't find any other sources around you. So the concept of bankability, let's say, it's really important. So you have to highlight also that, okay, you try to find some financing before from banks, from other investors, but they didn't invest in you, not because your idea is not good, but it is so ambitious, it's so, let's say, disruptive, that they don't want to take the risk. So this is the point. The commission will take the risk and will let you to go, let's say, globally. I don't want to spend a lot on this. I just put, sorry, this is still in Italian, some important things that a venture capitalist could be interested in. These are real comments from the jury. So I think that if you have to fill in this form, please consider this element. So you have to solve a problem, you have to with the solution, you are providing a solution for a real problem. You have a team behind this, and you have to have in mind a clear business model and clear, let's say, financial elements. Okay, this is what I wanted to present. And the last point that I want to show you, sorry, Ilaria, I finished. Please have a look to this website that we developed with APRE. We are the, let's say, the leader is in this project, and we put together all the national contact points in Europe with reference to EIC, and we provide a lot of tools in order to present not only accelerator, but let's say also the other instruments that I showed you before. We are going to update this, and you will find everything there. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Alessia, for your very detailed and informative presentation. Indeed, also inspired. So a lot of things and a lot of novelties from Horizon Europe. So it's very interesting for me, in my opinion, the opportunity to submit a pre-assessment of our ideas in order to be sure that the idea is consistent with the expectation of the funding scheme. Is very also innovative, the idea to prepare a pitch deck, exactly the product that a business manager have to submit when speak about with the equity and the private investors. So it's very inspired. Thank you very much for your contribution. So as mentioned at the beginning of our webinar, the cluster LGCA is working on training and on coaching path for SMEs, thanks to the support of Towards Green Transition Facility, a new initiative of European Cluster Collaboration Platform, ECCP, to enable cluster to providing SMEs with the best use of opportunities for new green value chains and easier market access for green SMEs. Thanks to this support, we are now working together with the next speaker, Manfred Kirchner, by CADIB Kirchner Advice in Bioeconomy and Towards Green Transition Facility expert. We are very interested in learning more about how to successfully build and design a business model, a bio-based business model. So Manfred, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Ilaria, thank you very much for that introduction and the opportunity to speak here. I will share my slide. I think you should see it. Is it fine?
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
So I will consult the LGCA cluster and SME within the Towards Green Transition program. And today I will speak about strategies and recommendations for developing an attractive bio-based business model. In the green field, you see the elements of such a business model, and I will guide you through these elements within my presentation. It's about value proposition, it's about business structure, it's about the revenue model. These are the core elements of a business model, but I also will speak about the company spirit and how to raise EIC funds, because in this blended finance approach towards grants and equity, there are some fundamental differences how to speak to private investors and how to speak to a public program. So I'm starting with the value proposition. This is at first, you should think about who is your customer and what are your products, because there is a fundamental difference if you select a business-to-business model, meaning you have only a few customers which take and consume big volumes of your products, or whether you have a business-to-consumer models with countless consumers you have to approach. The difference is that from consumers you get a higher price a higher value added than from a business. So this is a fundamental difference. And you should also think about what is your product. If you produce a material, you should sell per volume or per function. For example, in the field of cosmetics, do you produce and sell the carrier, for example, a cream by volume, or an active substance with a very specific functionality? In any case, you are highly competent in your field of the material, and there is also the chance to sell your competence as a consultancy. So consultancy might also be a product. In case you have a production, you might have an analytics lab. So also this lab capacity might be a product. It's possible to sell. And last but not least, your production capacity might be you might have some overcapacity, and there is a chance to sell your production capacity, especially in the early phase of a company. This might be important. However, you should not try to sell everything you could sell. Be focused and take advantage of the revenue potential as much as possible. So be focused beside all these opportunities. This is highly important. So what is your USP, your unique selling point? This is very, very important to define this and describe this in the business model. You might sell the services. As I said, this means you must have a unique competence, not just a me too competence. It must be really unique, so to take the advantage of competitiveness. Concerning the product, you should think about whether you go into the competition with others for price. This requires a very robust cost position. It's very dangerous to do that because others can reduce their price as well. Is your product characterized by a very special functionality? This requires that this functionality is really scientifically robustly proven. Not just claim a functionality, it must be proven by, in the best case, by external specialists. If you go into the competitive market with a especially small or reduced footprint in compared to the competitive products, this also requires a proven LCA or other data to show to the customers that your claim is really true. So define your USP, your unique selling point, and exploit it as your competitive advantage. This is really one of the core elements of your business model. Next point, the business structure. So how to realize the value of your business model. You should think about the production capacity you need by quality and by capacity. Your sales and communication, how to reach the customers, and your market entry strategy. This is an element which is often underestimated. Market entry is very, very difficult, except you are the very first and the very only. But this is in reality only very, very seldom the case. You always enter a competitive situation, and there are old bulls, established companies who don't like you to take their share of their market. They will counteract. So the market entry strategy is really a core element of the business model. Your core capabilities to reach competitive advantage. As I said before, price, functionality, and so on is important. You have to prove that you are able to develop these capabilities. At best, you have already a track record showing this to the grant program or to the private investors. Also, it is good to work in alliance with key partners, with partners along the supply and value chain, along the innovation chain. The difference is the supply chain are the feedstock for your product. If you are a producer, the innovation chain goes from an idea through a proven concept up to the first results and a pilot chain. You also should think about not doing everything alone, which needs a lot of investments normally. You should think about partners for production and also for market entry. You should focus on your core competence and find partners to realize your business idea. So focus on the business structure, on the USP, on the unique selling point, and rely on partners. The revenue model. What is your cost structure and what are your revenue sources? Concerning the cost structure, keep investment and running cost low. As I said before, rely on partners as much as possible and focus on your USP. And strengthen resilience through financial buffers. This is always also a very, very important point. Don't consume all the resources, the financial resources you have. You should also have some financial buffer. The revenues, generate early revenues. This is an element I touched in one of the first slides. So for example, if you are able to sell analytics, if you are able to sell consulting, or even some production capacities, these are options to generate early revenues. And this helps investors to join in your company. And you should gain market share and grow your revenue. This is a very important point to select the market share and the market element you feel strong in and you want to enter. However, avoid misdirecting capacities because this dilutes your capacities, this dilutes your financial means. So be directed always to the USP. Another important point is investor relations. Especially with private investors, you should agree on ambitious but realistic milestones. I stress the term private investors because private investors are interested to grow the value of your company. They help you with advice, and you should select an investor who is able in your business field to help you. Whereas grant programs, they don't help you, they just give the grant. They don't have the capacity to help you to grow the company. So establish a relationship of trust with investors, very important. Now this is now about the resilience element of the business model. You should protect your product by IP, at least by trademark or secrecy agreements. And you should be aware of the dependencies of your business model. So for example, of a limited volatile supply chain, avoid to be dependent on only one company providing you with your feedstock or one kind of, feedstock. You should always rely on a portfolio of different feedstock, which gives you some flexibility. The same is true for a limited volatile marketing channel. Don't rely only on one marketing channel. Try to diversify. Another dependency is an easily to replace product. Think about your product. Is it easily to replace by the customers? Or is there a functionality which makes it unique and the customer must take your product? The crowded market, I already mentioned the old bulls who might not like you to be successful. Variable framework conditions, especially in our field, in the bio-based economy, there is the emission trading system of the European community, which is adapted every few years. So try to look into the future, which framework conditions might change and is it of benefit for you or not. And another dependency is if know-how is only with a few team members. Avoid that if one of your team members leaves the company, he takes all the know-how, and nobody else has the know-how. So diversify also the know-how, distribute the know-how on the whole team. So in consequence, careful market and competitor analysis is necessary. A careful strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat and risk analysis is necessary. And manage a dependence on team members and partners. In a very similar direction goes are going the options for growth. So try to or analyze at least how to go forward up the value chain. Is it possible to add to go further in direction of a consumer product with your product, and switching from business to business to consumer business models? However, does forward integration justify capacity growth for expansion? Because this is very expensive. And a similar analysis should be done for the backward integration. So moving down the value chain, if you are dependent on a specific precursor, does it make sense to produce this precursor, for example, in your company? However, avoid increasing costs. It must be profitable overall. Otherwise, it makes no sense. Well, what makes your company unique? These are some points, especially the private investors pay attention to. In the team, who is involved? And you should show the competences and show the track record of the team members. And why are they involved? Is it really necessary to involve this individual? And as I said, individual track record is very important. You should also show your corporate values. Are you focusing on sustainability? Is your core value to be innovative? Is your core value to reduce cost or deliver a specific quality? Do you target on special customer relations, especially in business to consumer models? These are some keywords you should think about and include in your business model. So involve the team along the company demands and define and present corporate values from the very beginning. This is also a core point, especially for private investors. In the EIC work plan, where you have this blended finance approach, including grants, this is a little different, because public programs also always have the goal of some political impact. And you have to target in your application all the points included in this program. For example, the EIC work plan addresses the Green Deal goals. One of them is low carbon industries. You must address how your company, how your product idea contributes to low carbon industries. You should also address the UN sustainable goals, which are also mentioned in this EIC work plan. The work plan addresses also gender policies. So 35% of the EIC portfolio in the end should be led by women. You should think about what is your chance with your team to be successful in the program. Another topic is that the proposal has to be built on former EU funded projects. Is this the case in your case?
Sorry, Manfred, we have to go to the next presentation. So could you close in 1 minute, please?
So
Thank you.
This was my last slide. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Manfred, for your contribution, for your very relevant recommendation, especially for revenue model building and option for growth. Thank you. And now, before starting with such stories of our main guests, so I'm ask you to please go to Mentimeter, www.mentimeter.com by using your smartphone or device, or just open another page. And then at the bottom, let me share my screen again. And then, as you can see here, please, at the top of the home page, please include the code 9917159 in order to contribute on a discussion related to, in your opinion, what are the main complex issues in the EIC Pathfinder or Accelerator application process. 5 aspects of the preparation of proposal are listed here. Select those you find most complex from the most difficult to the least one. So you can choose not necessarily all of them, but just a few. Thank you. So when especially an idea is very new with a very high level of research and innovation, is not in any time easy to identify a feasibility plan for the sustainability of an idea. So how to continue to produce benefits after the end of the project or without financial support. So during the proposal preparation, you have to produce a pitch deck, and so you basically must be able to reply this issue. And then the elaboration of feasibility plan for upscaling is indeed one of the most challenges aspects in the business plan preparation, especially for those ideas quite new and very research lab intensive. And financial forecast elaboration also, since you have to plan or you have to forecast your budget for at least 3 years after the end of the project. So it's quite challenges to imagine how to successfully define a sustainable path in order to overcoming the so-called value of debt. Then we can move to the second question. It is related to, if you were preparing a EIC proposal, what kind of cluster support would you find most useful? In other words, 4 main services offered by cluster are listed here. Please assign a score from 1 to 5, from little useful to very useful each services, in order to better propose you our contribution and help you on project proposal preparation. This is also in a question for our guests, in order to learn more about their experience and how many information they gathered before the proposal preparation. Yeah, market analysis and value proposition, as mentioned by Manfred, are indeed crucial in order to underline the added value or the value proposition of your idea compared to already existing solution on the market. Linked with the market analysis, there are many other factors like pricing policy, and also sharing the business modeling, so B2B, B2C, and according to this choosing how many segmentation of the market you have to take in consideration. So yes, indeed, there are many challenges in IC preparation in pitch deck. So thank you very much for your questions. And then we can move to the last question. Is indeed an opportunity to bringing together all questions of our attendees, and also I would be very grateful for our guests for monitoring and straining their business model in their presentation. So what critical success factor would you like to know from SME Instruments-Phase II beneficiaries? Sorry, Gustavo and Jose Maria anticipated some questions. So some example of key aspects of business plan are listed here. In the case of upcoming and research-intensive business ideas, some aspect of business design could be very challenges, commercialization strategies, and could be indeed very relevant. B2B, B2C, how to reply to need of our customers, and also other financing sources in place. So do you have any other financing gathering before the proposal preparation? And regarding the patents, do you have any patents already put in place before the proposal submission? And also the level of TRL, which is the minimum level of your TRL when you are starting working on proposal preparation, and at the end of the project, which will be the TRL at the end of the project. So also in this case, thank you very much for participation in this short summary and survey. So I'm pleased now to welcome Gustavo Higuera of Solutex, manager of Live Omega project, which aims at producing an innovative, highly concentrated omega-3 specialized nutrition products, successfully funded thanks to the Instruments-Phase II. So thank you very much, Gustavo, and thank you for your participation. The floor is yours.
Hi, everybody. First of all, thank you, Fabiana, Melissa, and Ilaria for the invitation. I was very intrigued by the question, how to survive the valley of death. And honestly, I guess if I knew that answer, I would be writing books and doing that sort of thing. But I guess one of the things that helps not only in the application process, but also in the grant management is really being creative and staying open for change, because at the end of the day, it's one thing what you write and quite another what you end up doing and how you end up doing it. So I just wanted to start by addressing that question because it really caught my attention from the beginning. I think Mr. Kicker has already covered a lot of the basics along with Alessia on what you need for a grant of this sort. I want to start by sharing my screen. Here we go. And I want to start with a video that actually was funded by the project on why the business that we are in and why we are doing it. And the best way to show it is by showing you this. So we are in the business of commercializing omega-3s. And what happens with omega-3s is that there are various ways of concentrating them, various levels or various sorts of omega-3s that you can market for different applications. And this is the past of the company. But what we found was that if we apply a different process for extraction and a chemical process for doing all the concentration of the omega-3s, we find that there are sort of omega-3s that are called SPMs, specialized pro-resolving lipid mediators. And these are the molecules that you see here that are capable from the omega-3 normal components, EPA and DHA. They are the reason why omega-3s are good for your health. So it's been known for a long time that omega-3s are good for, and in general, fish oils are good for the health of people in general. But what science has found in the last 10 years is that these molecules are signaling molecules. They are lipids, so they were very difficult to detect just 10 years ago. And now we have the technology to be able to understand how they work. So our company has been in the business of the omega-3s for already almost 20 years. And we have various, I'm sorry, this is not going as well as I thought, various ways of also formulations that we can have the products, both as liquid or as powder, and in various formats for sale, usually in the sort of in the way of capsules, but also as a B2B business, as a way of bulk to be able to put it into other products such as milk or even creams. So what happens is that when you consume omega-3s and in general these sort of lipids, they are consumed by the small intestine, and then they're transported to various parts in the tissue where they do the activity that I was mentioning before, being signals, which cells in the immune system can be triggered to, for example, clean cell debris in a surrounding tissue. So this is a process basically of inflammation. And in a lot of different diseases and conditions, you have a lot of inflammation. That means you have a lot of cell debris for one reason or another that needs to be cleaned up. And this is not ideal in a lot of people that are deficient in the omega-3s and or that have deficiencies in the enzymatic processes that are necessary to convert the omega-3s into these lipids. So by supplying a lot of these components, this is possible to be able to treat or to improve, and to improve the inflammation process. The regular process of inflammation goes from being very controlled by cytokines, by different molecules that really trigger all the cleaning cells like macrophages to be able to do the job of cleaning up everything and go back to homeostasis, to go back to the normal tissue. So what we actually found is that, well, we needed a way of showing this hypothesis and being able to prove how our products are helping these processes or improving the inflammation process in general and specifically for certain diseases. And the Omega project allowed us to test a new formulation, an emulsion, to develop it from scratch for this purpose, for patients, for cancer patients. So in cancer, the problem is that you have a lot of chemotherapy and treatments that kill a lot of cells. So a lot of people struggle throughout chemotherapy with all the cell debris. And what we were testing with the emulsion was how much and to what degree our products can help them maintain a quality of life that is better than what they have, because usually people lose a lot of weight. They don't eat as well, so they lack a lot of nutrients. And as a coadjuvant, not necessarily as a drug, you could be able to improve on these processes. So I put here all the information, but in general, if you want to know more about the project itself on your own time, you can visit lifeomega.eu. That is lifeomega.eu. And you will find the video and a lot of the information that I'm mentioning here. You can also reach me if you want. We are open for partners and partnerships in various fields as well. So there are known facts about the state of chemotherapy patients in various cancers. So we were trying to find both clinical endpoints and more secondary endpoints, like more scientific, in the sense of finding out why and how we can improve on these processes with our products. And I'm actually the project manager for the project because a lot of the activities of the project involved clinical trials. And I'm the clinical trials manager for Solutex here in Madrid, in Spain. So we found partners that allowed us to launch these clinical trials that we needed to be able to understand better how our products work. And the benefits of the product from the beginning were obvious, because instead of taking, for example, 6 pills of omega-3 or of EPA or DHA in this case, you will need, or you would have a bag with 20 milliliters of an emulsion that will be much more convenient for a lot of different cancer patients that actually already have a lot of pills to take. So this made it simpler from the beginning for them to take the necessary amount of these substrates that are necessary in the daily diet and that they lack from the beginning. The products, because it is a new emulsion made from scratch by our team of chemists, is protected by IP, by actually 2 patents. So we were able to, from the beginning, have a lot of the bases covered that were mentioned by Mr. Kicker. And what you see is that what we needed to test really was, for example, the bioavailability of the product and a lot of the clinical endpoints that we were talking about now, like the quality of life of patients and its improvements. So this is a brochure that we made with the project, actually, to look for partners in the medical food industry, because this is not a product that you can supply to a cancer patient and you cannot sell it in a store. You have to have a doctor's advice, which in Europe is called food for special medical purposes. In the USA, it's under the regulatory of the medical food or the medical foods. And for that, you need that sort of advice for a patient to be able to take it gradually or as per doctor's advice. And actually, we found that, well, not only a partner, we also found a licensing agreement with this partner. And right now we're commercializing the product both in the USA and Europe, based on the data, actually, of the clinical trials that we also have, which, I mean, right now I cannot show you any of this because it's in writing, based on the results. The project finished recently in February of this year, actually officially in November. But if we consider the time that we received the payment from EASME, I would say it was more like March. But anyway, I also wanted to mention and show you and that the team is really important. I mean, I'm the face that is explaining the project to you, but no one person can do this without the commitment of everybody in the company. And I have to say that I have had excellent colleagues all throughout the organization that have helped make it a success and to make the most out of it, even in the most difficult times, because we had people working on it and committed to the project from the beginning. We are a small company. We are 100 people. Right now, we are worldwide, located in Spain, which is where I am, here in Madrid. The plant is in Aragon, close to Zaragoza, in the north of Spain. And we have an office in the USA, in North Carolina, and another one in India. And again, I have to give credit to everybody because they really supported the project and have been able to make it what it has been, and the opportunity to develop a new technology for the company. In this case, the emulsions, which have put us in a more competitive level with respect to other products because of being able to supply it in a new format that gives us an edge in the market right now. That's all I have to say for now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Gustavo, for your presentation and your success stories. This is a very great project focus on improving the quality of life of cancer patients, but also for any other very challenges situations for the human well-being. So thank you very much for your presentation. So if there are not questions in the top, we can move to the last presentation from our guest of our success story. So it's a very pleasure to welcome Jose Maria Pinilla of Untitled Biotec, manager of Aqualive project, which aims to improve the aquaculture production with bioactives from olive oil processing byproducts. So welcome, Jose.
Hello, good afternoon.
The floor is yours.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much for the invitation. As we are a little bit not very good on time, I will try to read a little bit fast. I will start sharing my screen. Let's see. Okay, can you see my screen now?
Yes, perfectly.
All right. So I will make a very brief presentation of the company, and then I will play a video also of our project, and I will try then at the end of the presentation to give you some tips from our experience during the old SME Instrument project. So, well, NATAC, we are a business group, we are an SME, we are dedicated to the research and development and manufacturing and commercialization of natural ingredients. Mainly, we work with botanical extracts for different markets, mainly nutraceutical, pharmaceutical, food, animal nutrition, and cosmetics. So we extract and isolate bioactive compounds from botanical matrices to develop different ingredients for those industries. Our slogan is Science to Market, and our mission is to transfer scientific knowledge to industry viable and sustainable projects that create value and improve people's lives. We are located also in Spain with headquarters in Madrid, and then we have a factory for the olive-derived production in Cordoba, in Andalusia. And then we have just opened a new factory, a new production plant in Extremadura region, which is in the west of Spain. You can see the picture over there. And then we have a commercial office in the United States, in Utah. Well, our business model is based in the upcycling of different food biomasses and agri-food biomasses. So what we do here is to use as raw material, as feedstock, any side stream which is produced in the food industry, in the agri-food industry actually, to extract and purify these bioactive compounds. And we have been working since the very beginning of the company with olive. We have a strong focus in olive-derived products. We have some experience in R&D projects in Europe, mainly from the H2020 program. We have the Aqualive project, which I will be presenting in a minute. And then we have other several initiatives in other topics. Well, regarding the Aqualive project, as Ilaria mentioned before, it's based in the development of a new solution for aquaculture. So we have developed an olive-based ingredient which improves the health and the productivity of salmon, which are grown in farms. Let's see if it works. Hold a second. Okay, let me know if you can hear it.
Según Naciones Unidas, se estima que para el año 2050 la producción acuícola deberá aumentar un 50% para poder satisfacer la demanda de pescado provocada por el crecimiento poblacional. Este incremento supone un gran desafío para el sector, que busca en el mercado soluciones innovadoras que permitan una transición sostenible y que aseguren el crecimiento necesario. NATAC es una empresa líder en el desarrollo y comercialización de ingredientes saludables de origen natural, que ha desarrollado un modelo de negocio sostenible basado en el upcycling o suprarreciclaje de materias primas de origen botánico. Este modelo está basado en el aprovechamiento integral de los recursos disponibles, revalorizando la cadena de valor y reduciendo el impacto ambiental. Siguiendo esa estrategia de upcycling, Natac ha desarrollado AquaOlive, un producto altamente innovador, destinado a la acuicultura de salmones que mejora la salud y el bienestar de los peces, a la vez que contribuye de manera decisiva a mejorar la sostenibilidad de toda la cadena de valor.
AquaOlive es una formulación única y patentada a base de un concentrado de compuestos bioactivos presentes en la biomasa del olivar y que está destinada al cultivo y a la mejora de la salud de los salmones que se crían en granjas. El producto se obtiene a partir de la biomasa del olivar que se genera durante el proceso de fabricación del aceite de oliva. Es una biomasa que, de no ser aprovechada, causaría un importante impacto tanto socioeconómico como medioambiental.
La principal ventaja de AquaOlive está basada en el control sobre el estrés oxidativo y la inflamación crónica. En síntesis, AquaOlive mejora la respuesta inmune de los peces, haciéndolos más resistentes frente a diferentes desafíos a los que se enfrentan durante su crecimiento, como infecciones microbiológicas o cambios en la temperatura u otras enfermedades. Este efecto se traduce en una mejora de la resiliencia y robustez de los salmones, lo que contribuye a mejorar su salud y bienestar y aumentar la productividad del sector. En definitiva, AquaOlive mejora la sostenibilidad de la acuicultura a través del aprovechamiento de los recursos disponibles.
En Natac estamos estudiando la eficacia del producto AquaOlive en distintos momentos del ciclo productivo del salmón, desde una etapa muy crítica, que es la esmoltificación, que es cuando el salmón pasa de agua dulce a agua salada, hasta el ciclo completo, hasta llegar a los 5 kilos, que es el tamaño comercial del salmón.
Estos estudios están siendo realizados en diferentes entidades de prestigio, tanto en Noruega como en España. Hasta el momento hemos obtenido resultados muy prometedores que nos permiten ser muy optimistas con el producto. En uno de estos estudios hemos comprobado que AquaOlive reduce en más del 95% la mortalidad de los salmones frente a infecciones bacterianas y mejora significativamente los parámetros productivos.
AquaOlive aporta un valor socioeconómico adicional a toda la cadena de valor, ya que vincula a los productores de olivo del sur de Europa con los acuicultores de salmón noruegos. Es un producto basado en el aprovechamiento integral de los recursos disponibles y que mejora la sostenibilidad de la acuicultura a través de un proyecto de economía circular.
Okay, so that was briefly the project content. And well, I now would like to focus in some of our experience during the SME Instrument project, both the submission of the proposal and also the management of the proposal itself. First of all, just to mention that we did the old SME Instrument, which is quite different from the new EIC Accelerator program, but I think that we will find some similarities. So first of all, just some tips about the benefits as an SME that you can obtain by applying to this kind of funding. Well, obviously, you can get some fund for the technology development. Obviously, the funding itself is one of the main benefits, even if now it has to be taken into account the new funding schemes from the EIC, so mainly the mixture between grant and equity. Also, we have found a lot of prestige and branding as a company, because only highly innovative companies are funded under this kind of programs, or being funded by one of these economic tools. It's really important. It also allowed us to additional penetrate in the market. During the project implementation, beneficiaries get some coaching sessions from the commission, which is also very good. And it's easier to get additional attraction to funding, like venture capitals and so on. Now this is, well, I don't know if it's exactly mandatory to get funding for the new EIC Accelerator, but I think that it's very, very well recommended to go for the blended financial tool, so grant and equity. But in any case, as the application form of this kind of project is more similar to raising fund from private equity than a current and a normal or a typical R&D project. I think that all the experience that you get through this project is really, really highly valuable for the future. Considering some of the barriers that we found during this project management was, well, first of all, which is this program is highly competitive, so it's really hard to get the project funded. The application process was quite long, and I think that now, even if they have tried to do it like more easily or more straightforward, but it still is, you have to go through these modules that they were explained before across the platform of the European Commission, and I think that it's quite difficult and quite long. Also, the new system has to be taken into account, this go and not go system, the new financing, so you need to be certain that you will need the grant and the equity. So those are some of the barriers that we think that you will find during this process management. And then some other tips or keys to make a success story. I think that first of all, you need to match the TRLs. So you have to be really, really close to the market before applying to these kind of programs. I am talking about the SME instrument or the EIC accelerators. As it was mentioned before, there are new funding schemes for earlier TRL technologies. But when applying to the EIC accelerator, you have to be close to the market. Also, the company size and the team is key. So if you're a very, very small company, then maybe there are other alternatives for funding better than going for the EIC accelerator. This is quite obvious, but not less important. Confirm that the tool matches the project and not the way around. I mean, not try to convert your project into a project financeable by the EIC accelerator, but the opposite way. And also, it's important to keep an eye on the cash flow, the eligibility of cost, the co-fund, and so on. From our perspective, and in our case, we got 70% of funding of grant, which is really a good hand. But this means that you need to co-fund 30% of the budget, which if you are asking for 2 million euros, it's 300% euros. I mean, 600,000 euros. So I think that these cash flow things and these financial issues are really, really important, especially because sometimes when companies do not have previous experience in funded projects, I mean, you have to be very strict with the eligibility rules and so on. So it's not the same going for funding from the European Commission than going to the bank or going to private financing. So this is something really important to take into account. I mentioned it before, but it's obviously not an R&D project, but a business plan, what you need to do. This is especially important for companies which are more focused in R&D and which are more used to go to H20 programs or other R&D projects. So this is completely a different story. So you're not, I mean, your science behind the project will be obviously valued, but what it will make the difference will be the business plan. So how are you planning to get into the market? Actually, normally the people who is reviewing your proposal, they do not know much about your science, but they are more like a venture capitalist profile. So they will be listening to your way of doing business and not the way of doing science. That's why it's very important to have a good storytelling. So this elevator pitch. So you need to be able to let the reviewers know during the process that your project has a really huge impact from an economic perspective and market creation and so on. So this is like really, really difficult. And again, especially from R&D teams and from people who come from R&D sector, sometimes it's hard to change mind and go more into market more than into science. Perseverance, it took us 4 times to get the second phase funded. I know that now with the new instrument, with this go and not go, I think you cannot resubmit and resubmit, so you can only resubmit, I think, twice, and then you have to wait for a while and then go again to that. But in any case, as it's really competitive, sometimes you need to go 2 or 3 or 4 times. So do not hesitate to retry and to perseverate in order to get the project funding. And finally, look for help. National contact points, consultancy, other companies, I don't know. Whatever you think is important to you and whatever you think that you do not have it in your house, look for it, because it will definitely give you a great impulse to get the project funded. And that's all. I don't know if we have some time for questions, but I think maybe from the questions from the audience will be even more valuable our contribution. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jose Maria, for your contribution, and congratulations for your very inspiring project. Your presentation was plenty of very interesting point of discussion, and also thanks for providing tips for future application. Indeed, the competition is very, very high. The success rate is not still clear, since we have just the collection of the first results of the first cutoff. But indeed, also in my experience, in most of cases, is necessary to apply to one more time to be at the end of the day successfully funded, since there are a lot of application at every cutoff. So if there are not questions, so I remind to all participants to use the chat and the Q&A question. In any case, we collect also information, question also after the end of the event, and then we will forward to you in the case of interest of contacting and put additional questions. So thank you very much, also Gustavo, for your contribution to the discussion. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
And then finally, I'm pleased to welcome Barbara Tosi of IBIS Consortium, managing of the Green Chemistry Advanced Material Cluster of Piedmont region. This event is also an opportunity to bring together also the experience of other clusters in order to strengthen collaboration between very close agency entities and cluster like ours, in order to share common experience in how to support SMEs, green SMEs towards resilience and market. Thank you very much, Barbara, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Ilaria, for your kind invitation. Good morning to everybody. I thought to share some slides I have prepared. Okay. So I'm Barbara Tosi. I am from Consortium IBIS. IBIS Consortium is a cluster for the sustainable chemistry located in Novara. Novara is a town on the border between Piedmont region and Lombardy region in the northern part of Italy. IBIS is the acronym of Innovative Bio-Based and Sustainable Products and Processes. And let me introduce something about us. We born in 2009, and our mission is creating a network of the most innovative local chemical companies to foster and promote cooperation projects which can make chemistry more and more friendly to the environment. This cluster is joining together companies, but also schools, universities, and local government of Novara province, working in the field of green chemistry and sustainable chemistry. And Piedmont region is why IBIS is in Piedmont region and on the border with Lombardy region, because as you can imagine, these two regions are the main actors of chemistry in Italy. And in Piedmont region, we employ about 7% of the total number of people working in chemical industries at national level. The major share of employees and chemical production, as well as research, is concentrated for Piedmont region in Novara, and this is why IBIS is located here. As cluster oriented to sustainable chemistry, IBIS has supported, fostered, and coordinated projects focused on innovation and the respecting services proceedings from the associated companies. The chemical companies in Piedmont, which have agreed to establish of IBIS, have selected 2 lines of work for their research and development projects. The first line is the development of new bio-based products and processes. And the second one is the redesign of existing chemical processes and products to reduce their environmental impact. So you can understand that we are working really in the field of green environmental items. IBIS is one of the 3 managers of a multi-cluster in Piedmont called Segui, Green Chemistry and Advanced Materials, that collects more or less 160 players in green chemistry. A great part is composed by SME, the greatest part are SME, but we have also, of course, some big actors of chemistry, of Italian chemistry in our cluster. And this connection, I think, is really a good connection because there's really a collaboration and a sort of exchanging of good practices, of best practices between the great industry and the SME, so the small and medium enterprises. Segui, as I told you, is a multi-cluster jointly operated by Consorzio IBIS that is more vocated to sustainable chemistry. Another association called ProPlast that is more vocated in innovative materials. And the third one is PST, that is a technological scientific park in Piedmont, connected with the energy. So we have these 3 souls, sustainable chemistry, innovative materials, and energy. Since September 2016, IBIS and these other 2 actors are employed inside, are operating inside the Green Chemistry and Advanced Materials Innovation Cluster, which has been created with the contribution of European Regional Development Fund, in addition to the co-founding of Italian Ministry of the Economy and Finance, Ministero dell'Economia, and the regional government of Piedmont, so Regione Piemonte. This cluster of clusters, let me say this, aims to enable innovation-oriented companies to gain access to high-add value services and infrastructures and to obtain funding for new research projects. So we are working mainly in these fields. IBIS and Segui strategies are synthesized in this last slide. IBIS and Segui targets are to support competitiveness and companies located in our region fostering innovation, to advise and oversee companies who apply for funds and to support their development plans, to establish partnership with public institutions in promoting and implementing actions aiming to support the technological upgrade of the companies, and to create a more easy cooperation between research and development institutes, both public and private, and companies, because this is really important for us to create a strict collaboration and connection between research and development. As I told you, we now count more or less 160 actors, players in Piedmont region, but each year we attract more and more SMEs, because we are working on the animation of this pole, of this cluster. And we are very lucky today to be here, because we can explain you who we are and what we are doing for research and development. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Barbara, for your presentation. So we believe that many other opportunity will be planned and together. So we have come to the end of this event. I really thank all participants and our guests for their valuable contribution. I thank this opportunity to invite you to a new information section dedicated to funding opportunities for SMEs in biomaterial sector, scheduled on July 6th. So after the event, all materials and the recorded event will be sent to all participants. So thank you very much for your time and for your participation. Have a good day. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Grazie. Ciao.
Ciao.
Grazie. Ciao.
Ciao.